Good afternoon. Once again, it's your lawyer's favorite lawyer. You're back again with Motivational Monday. I do apologize. I was running a little behind today. I had a few things I had to do early this morning, and it took me past the 8 o'clock hour. So since I was past 8 o'clock, I figured I would go ahead and wait and come to my law office and do the Motivational Monday. So again, I apologize for running behind. Definitely was not my intent. I had the distinct privilege and honor of trying a murder case with Judge Willard Proctor. He's now an attorney, and we tried a case here in Arkansas. And during voir dire, for those of you who don't know what voir dire is, it's just jury selection, or you picking a jury. He talked about this parable about 6 men and an elephant, and I had no idea what the parable was. That's why I tell you, a lot of times when you think I'm on top of things, I'm sitting there listening and gleaning stuff. I heard this parable about an elephant, and there were 6 blind men in a village who were told that this elephant was coming. And so they all go and they all start to touch the elephant. The first man says the elephant is like a pillar because he was touching his leg. And then another one said, oh no, it's like a rope because he was touching his tail. The third one was like, oh no, it's a thick branch like a tree. He was touching the trunk. Other one was touching the ear, said it was like a big fan. The other one was rubbing the belly of him and said it's like a huge wall. And one touched the tusk and said it was like a solid pipe. So now, these 6 men, and they could be very learned men, they could have been the wise men of that particular village, all had a different perception of the elephant. And their perception of the elephant caused them to argue with each other on what an elephant is. A lot of times in life, we look at situations from our perspective and our perception of it, right, wrong, or indifferent, and that may color or frame the issue for us in such a way that a situation is not beneficial to us that may be beneficial. A lot of times people will tell us things that will be helpful to us, but it doesn't come in the form of things that we've heard before or seen before. Let me give you an example. When we're growing up, we're taught how to add. And a parent may teach you that 6 plus 1 is 7. They may teach you that 5 plus 2 is 7. That 3 plus 4 is 7. 6 plus 1 is 7. And now you have all of these different equations, and these kids who are growing up go to school and they argue with each other. And they're arguing with you on the mathematical philosophy to get to 7. And they're getting heated. And they're getting heated because in their house, and their mama, who, of course, your mom is always the best mom because it's your mom, it's all perception, is telling them something. And a lot of us live life like that because we're not willing to hear the other side of a story or other people's perception or observations of a thing. We also frame issues based on that. Life, love, employment, how we see things. And how we see things could be colored by a lot of factors in life. It can be colored by the environment that we grew up with. It can be colored by our first boyfriend or girlfriend. I mean, that first boyfriend or girlfriend may have been the most perfect person to you in the world in 3rd grade, or they may have broke your heart. And so every person that comes behind them is like that. You may have tried to start your own business and you failed, and you don't like to have failed. You may be a person that has always been perceived as beautiful, and so you don't like to be called ugly, so you get insecure. All these things are perception. You mix some of these perceptions with mental issues that people have that's undiagnosed, and sometimes you get things told to you or shown to you that is far beyond the scope of what you can hold or contain. Well, why am I talking about this on Motivational Monday? Because in the first deal that I dealt with, The perception didn't change what the elephant was. The elephant was an elephant. No matter where you touched it, it was just an aspect of the elephant. That is also with some people. I was at the airport this morning, very early. Got there about 4:30 this morning, and as I was sitting and having coffee at about 5:45 or so, 5:30, 5:45, I saw a rapper that a lot of people know. Some people may have known Lil Bootsy was in town. I think it's Bootsy was in town. Others may not. And I saw him. Now, only reason I know who some of these guys are is because my son is, into some of them. I think Gucci Mane was here 6 months ago or so. And my son, who's of course hung around a lot of NFL players, NBA players, things of that nature, has never been afraid to go ask for a picture or an autograph. So when he saw Gucci Mane said, "No, I don't take any pictures." Now, I don't know what issue he had that day. I mean, I can understand, when I go places as a lawyer, people walk up to me and ask me, questions, and about the 10th or 11th question, I'm tired of answering questions. I just want to come to the barbecue and get some chicken from my frat brothers. I get that. This morning when I saw Lil Bootsy, everybody that came up to him, that wanted to talk to him, that wanted a picture, he was open. He was on the phone, but he would stop his conversation. He would take a picture with these individuals. From TSA to people that just push the wheelchairs, he would take pictures, he would talk. And I saw him again about 7:30, 2 hours later. And somebody came up to him and he was still smiling, but he says, "Look, I'm tired of taking pictures." Now, the first person he came up to, their perception of him is going to be, he's great. He talked to me. He didn't care what was going on. Well, the 100th person that he talked to that day when he was tired of taking pictures, he's going to say, "Man, that dude is an asshole. He could have just took a picture with me," not understanding that he just did 99 other pictures. But perception is based upon how you're treated, how you're perceived, what happens to you. And so sometimes if you take a step back from a situation and look at it dispassionately, look at it from a perspective of, maybe they didn't mean it that way. Maybe I shouldn't look at it that way. Maybe they really weren't coming at me that way. Then sometimes you'll get a better result than the result that you get from your initial perception. I have a friend of mine. She runs her own internet business. And so, of course, me being a lawyer and businessman, I've been in business for 10 years now. So, of course, I give people advice. Sometimes unsolicited, as some of my Facebook friends can tell you. Sometimes they don't even know why I'm talking to them. Well, I give advice. And so I give this young lady advice. And she listens to me. She smiles. She acknowledges it. And then she tells me that, well, she knows that what she's doing is going to make a profit. And you know me, I'm feeling sorry for her because, come on now, she doesn't have any experience. She just opened a business a month ago. How can she know she's going to make a profit? I'm thinking all these business things, businesses usually don't make money in the first 3 years. You got this, you got that. I'm thinking from conventional business. And so I've already made up in my mind, my perception of her is a person who won't even listen to good business advice. Because obviously it's coming from me, it's good business advice. And then she tells me that for 2 or 3 years prior to opening her own business, she ran her mother's business, that's an internet business, that was successful. Now, think about my perception of her. My perception of her went from a novice business person who didn't know what they were talking about, and won't listen to me to, well, maybe she knows something because she's done it before. But my perception was based upon me talking to other people who have opened businesses and didn't know what they were doing and wouldn't listen to advice, and you see those businesses, cave in. My point is, sometimes you don't have all the facts by which to list your perception. Sometimes you don't have all the knowledge that goes along with it. As a lawyer, people think we have money. Only people that think that, we don't have money or care if we don't have money, or people who don't pay us. Because oftentimes they don't care if we broke, busted, as long as we show up for court. But most people think we have money. Well, that means that a lot of times people think that you are the answer to their problem. Even though they've caused a problem that you had nothing to do with, they feel that they can call you on the phone and ask you for money. And since you have an abundance of money, then you're going to give it to them. And that very well could or could not be true. Some of my colleagues have money. I, on the other hand, am not so lucky. But the little money I do have that I can give away, that I do give away to different charitable things or different, football or basketball or baseball teams, after the 100th person comes up to you and asks for money because they have did things in their lives that, how can I put this nicely, were irresponsible, and you don't give them money, their perception of you is you don't care. Not that you're broke, not that you haven't made any money that week, not that you gave it all to the football team. Their perception of you without all the information is based upon how they feel. And so, let's go back to where we started. If you're looking at a thing from a different angle, and you judge it just by what you see, if you judge the life you have, if you judge the things that you're doing in life based on what you've seen, based on where you go, based on the limited environment that you may or may not have had. You live in a small country town, that's going to be a lot different than New York City. The experiences that you have, the experiences with people that you have are going to be different. But if you base your life on limited perception, you may not realize that you have the ass end of the elephant and not the front. And you may miss opportunities because you would not listen to a person who was telling you that there was a trunk. A wise person would have listened to all 6 men and could have distinguished that that's an elephant because each part had something to do with the elephant. A foolish person would side with one of the 6 and fight to the death because they can't understand that there's different perceptions and different realities. And sometimes other people have perspectives because of their life experiences that will give you depth perception in your life. I'll end by saying this. We have 1 mouth, we have 2 ears. If you do a 2-to-1 ratio, that means you should listen probably more than you talk. And if you listen and process what you're listening to, sometimes you'll get great advice from people whom you would not think great advice could come from. I will tell you this. Some of my best legal training came from a lawyer who was great, but at the time was disbarred. So had I had the attitude that this person couldn't tell me anything because they've been disbarred, I would have missed great legal training. As a matter of fact, I think the reason I got great legal training from them is because they try to deposit what they can no longer do. And because I was receptive, because there were others that were around that just weren't receptive. Because I was receptive, I got a lot of great training. It's all based on perception. 3 + 4, 5 + 2, 6 + 1, it's all 7. 6 parts of an elephant, you still got a big thing that was marched across the desert into Rome by a black general and took out a lot of the Roman army. 6-man and an elephant. Don't only use your own perception. Listen to others. Thank you for listening. May God bless you. Once again, it's your lawyer's favorite lawyer, Jimmy Morris. See you when I see you.